More than 5 years ago, the GTX 960 was released as part of Nvidia's Maxwell lineup. How does it perform in 2020? Let's check it out. Hello and welcome back again to Junkyard Summit, and today we're taking a look at another older GPU and see how it fares on today's games. So what I have here for today's benchmark is the GTX 960 2GB version, more precisely the Asus Strix GTX 960 2GB. This GPU was first released back in January of 2015 and should slot in as Nvidia's mid-range card for their 900 series lineup. The release of this card was somewhat lukewarm back then, as its competition, the R9285 and the R9280X, was a bit faster as compared to the GTX 960. Though, to be fair, this card is still decent as it can perform good frames on 1080p resolution while maintaining low temps and at the same time low power consumption. Current pricing of the GTX 960 in the used market is around 3,000 Philippine peso for the 2GB one, while the 4GB version ranges from 3,500 to 4,000 Philippine peso. And usually, you can easily find a listing of this card on Tipid PC. For the GPU specs, this card has a 1024 CUDA cores and a 2GB VRAM on a 128-bit bus width. A 4GB version was also released a few months later, but what I will be testing today is the 2GB one. Base core clock starts at 1127 MHz with a boost of 1178 MHz. And since I'm using an aftermarket card here, my boost clock reaches up until 1350 MHz. Memory clock, on the other hand, is 7 gigabits per second. At the same time, most GTX 960 should require you an external PCIe power connector, as this card is rated at 120 watts with a recommended PSU of 400 watts or higher. For today's testing, I'll be pairing this card with my stock Ryzen 5 3500X. 16 gigs of Corsair Vengeance Pro clocked at 3200 MHz are also used here. Then lastly, both stock and overclock results will be posted here. And with that, let us go to our gaming benchmarks. Results are out, and it seems our card doesn't have any problems running most games above 30 FPS. 1% and 0.1% lows are also decent despite having only 2 gigs of VRAM. And if ever you can find a 4GB one for the same price, then it should provide you smoother frames when gaming. As for temps, surprisingly, the Strix card didn't went past 65 degrees Celsius even on my overclock settings. Though I was hoping that my Strix card could go higher, as comparing my overclock settings to the others over the internet, my settings is on the more conservative side. Also, just out of curiosity, do you guys still have your GTX 960 and have you overclocked it yet? If you do, comment down below your max core clock and memory clock. For the big question now again, Should you still buy a used GTX 960 in 2020? Well, it depends. If you can get a 2GB version for 3,000 Philippine peso or below, then it's a good deal as the GTX 960 can still provide decent frames, especially if you're just gaming on a 1080p 60Hz monitor. And if you're considering the 4GB version of the GTX 960, then I wouldn't pay more than 3,500 Philippine peso for it as you're already stepping on the RX 570 price range. Since at 4,000 pesos, the RX 570 should provide almost double the frames as compared to the GTX 960. I also forgot to mention that the GTX 960 was rarely or never used in crypto mining, hence parts degradation should not be an issue as compared to the failing RX 570 that is circulating in the used market. So that is all for today. If you like the video, go hit a thumbs up and also do subscribe to my channel for more older GPU benchmark and reviews like this. Once again, this is Brain of Junkyard Summit. Thank you and see you in the next one.